All right, here we are, Net Builders. First episode of season 3, and I'm super pumped up. We have our first guest, which is going to be Cara Tyrrell. We had an amazing episode, an amazing conversation about something that a lot of us don't think, but we have huge problems with, which is parenting as an entrepreneur. And in this episode, she's going to cover how she was able to do so successfully and gracefully and become a successful entrepreneur and business owner. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Hey, Net Builders, thanks for joining us for our first episode of season 3. Today we have Cara Tyrrell here, Core4 Parenting CEO, and I'm hoping that you guys get a bunch of value, as I know that I am, as we pick her brain about parenting as an entrepreneur. And Cara, take the floor. Give us a little introduction of yourself.
Excellent. Thanks so much for having me today. So I am Cara Tyrrell, and Core4 Parenting is my newest baby. I have raised 3 kids. I have a 16, 18, and 21-year-old. I spent years in the classroom with littles in preschool and kindergarten. I spent years teaching teachers and the basic foundations of classroom management. And then I spent years as a nanny, going back to the beginning with these infants and helping them get ready to make the most of their learning years in kindergarten. And so here I am, taking all of that knowledge and time and expertise and experience and bringing it to the general public, new parents who are so excited to do this thing, do it well, and arm their kids for success in life.
Outstanding, outstanding. So what made you realize that this is what you really wanted to do? What was that turning point that hit you and was like, hey, this is what I'm here for?
Well, that's a two-pronged answer. I've always known that little people were my space. I knew that at 10 years old. I followed my path, and it led me through all these different ways to serve them. And the last 10 years as a nanny, quite honestly, the turning point for me was when I realized physically chasing toddlers, physically bouncing babies was pretty much, I was near the end of my spectrum with that.
Gotcha.
But I had so much more to give. And the parents of the kids I cared for and the parents of the kids I taught kept saying to me, I learned so much from you. And I said, oh, I know what I'm going to do with the second half of my life. And it's going to be the best half because I'm not going to be directly serving one family at a time or one small classroom of kids at a time. I will be able to make impact in hundreds and in thousands and then hundreds of thousands of families, homes at a time.
I asked that personally. I have 4 children. Me and the wife. I think this episode is like probably more near and dear to me because I think that is something that I need. Because oh my gosh, patience is something that, oh man, that's something.
How old?
I have a 12-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl. I have a 2-year-old girl, and I have a 5-year-old son.
Okay, so to sum this up in a way that makes it's just way too small for what it is, right? Toddlers and teenagers are essentially in the same developmental space, tackling bigger things. So you've got a toddler and you've got teenagers. And so you're dealing with similar stuff, except in different phases of development.
That actually does make a lot of sense.
A lot.
Yeah, because teenagers are learning something new about life, and the toddlers are, yeah, she's we call her Taz now because she just makes noises out of her mouth, runs circles, and destroys stuff. She reminds me of the Tasmanian devil. So, but okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. So, you doing this as a mom, like while you were building your business, you were still full-time mom, correct?
Yes. So this is why I say I love where you're at, because that's basically where I was, right? I was caring in a real deep and consistent way for other people's kids in the first few years of their life, while mine were going through those very tricky developmental years of teenagerhood and working their way towards being self-regulated, independent adults.
Outstanding. So what tips would you give to because I have a lot of people that I work with in entrepreneurism and in opening their and starting their business, and one of their major things when I tell them, hey, you need to do this, be producing content, no matter what I tell them, the biggest obstacle that they give me, I want to say excuse, but I'm gonna say it obstacle. My kids won't let me.
Interesting. Okay. That they feel so that they feel like they have to be there for their kids 100% of the time, so they can't give a fraction of that time to themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way, but yes, I think that's what it is.
Wow. So I would say that, and you know what? This is interesting because I say this to brand new parents, right? Parents that are holding a 2-month-old all the time and say, okay, your world is upside down, right? You're in this fourth trimester where it's all baby, it's baby o'clock, around the clock. But guess what? You existed before this child did,
Mm.
right? You had an identity, you had a sense of self before you added mom or dad to that list of monikers. And you can't lose that. You have to hold on to that and know I deserve to spend as even a fraction of my time on making sure that I stay in touch with that person. Because if I give everything to my children from the day they're born until they're 18 and they leave the house, there's such a gap there that it takes a lot of energy to re-engage with who am I? What have I always wanted to do? How can I get back to that? And so I try to help parents find that balance between being their best selves and showing up for their kids, because our kids need us to help guide them through those early development, and then holding on to their sense of self as well.
Thank you for that answer. That's honestly, I think I'm probably guilty of that a little bit too. But when you say it like that, it actually makes a lot of sense now, because that gap, that 18-year gap of giving everything to them, like after that 18th year comes, then I really haven't done anything for me, if I was in that position. So I thank you for that answer, because that actually made me think about something too. I never thought about that. And I have my wife, she's trying to work on her cosmetic business, and she's actually one of the biggest culprits of this. So I think this answer is going to help her a bunch too, because every time she gets midway or mid stride into working on something, she just stops and drops everything. And it's like for the smallest thing, it just throws everything out of whack. But there are a lot of parents though that dedicate their entire lives to just their kids, and they don't develop themselves or even self. I checked out your webpage, and I like how you have like a self-care for parents.
Yes.
I think that's so important. I think when did you realize that, or what? I know that a lot of parents don't really think about self-care. They're give, but at what point did you realize that you needed to add that kind of curriculum, I'll say, to your process?
I think it just naturally and intuitively became part of it because a couple things. One, Core4 Parenting approaches the job of raising a new human being, because that's our job, from a proactive standpoint. So think about those first 3 months of your newborn's life. You can't be proactive, right? It's all reactive, all crisis resolution. We have a problem, let's solve it. And that's how life is supposed to start. But it's not how it's supposed to stay. And so if we get stuck in the crisis resolution cycle, and then our kids are 6 months, and then they're 9 months, and then they're 2, and then they're 5, we're just putting out fires all the time to try to keep the status quo. All right. If you look at it from a proactive standpoint, it's you've got to have some knowledge about the goal of your parenting journey. And so, to answer your question, at Core4 Parenting, that was built in with the evolution of what I coin the parenting PMS. And for moms, this makes a little more funny humor side than for dads, but you all know what PMS sounds like and looks like too, especially if you have daughters. I have 3. So a parenting PMS is your parenting mission statement. All right. And it sets your GPS, that goal. And essentially, I wrote mine. I wrote my parenting mission statement when I had my first little girl 21 years ago. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, my goal is to raise healthy, happy, socially well-adjusted kids who are independent, who can problem solve, who can add value to the world, who are empathetic and compassionate towards other people, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of crafted who I wanted to raise, this adult that I desired to enter into the world so that they could go out there and do some good too. Okay. If I spent every waking minute of my parenting life solving all their problems for them, I can't raise that person. If I spend some time saying, I'm going out, it's girls' night. If I spend some time, like I do, saying to my kids, the next 3 hours, I'm working on my company, unless the house is on fire, unless it's a major crisis that you literally cannot solve without me, I will check back in with you in a few hours and see how you're doing. Now, I have older kids, okay? So their level of independence is there. Don't do this with your 2-year-old, please. Your house might actually turn on fire. Keep it developmentally appropriate, but you are showing your kids how much you care about their future by showing them how much you care about yours.
That's actually a really good statement there. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's very well put. Very well put. How long does it usually take for your clients to actually develop that mindset? Because I know that's like a huge, like that the way that everything that you say makes sense. It makes a complete sense, but that is not the way parenting is taught. You know what I mean? Like it's hover, you know, what was it? Helicopter moms and dads. Am I using that term for, yeah, am I using that phrase? Okay. And
but
that's what you're taught.
let me ask you, is parenting taught?
Oh,
No,
oh.
no, it's not. Parenting is implied, right? You spend 9 months getting excited, getting ready, all these visualizations in your head of what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like. And then the baby comes and the reality is 100% different than it was in your head. Now, if you spent 9 months preparing for a brand new job, right? You knew in 9 months you were going to be CEO of this company. What would that company do? They'd spend that 9 months preparing you with background, training, education, onboarding, et cetera, et cetera. We don't get that. We get, you were raised by some parents, so you probably know how to do this. Good luck. Go ahead.
Huh. That couldn't be more true. That could not be more true. All right. So okay. So with that the mindset thing, if you have parents that were horrible, and you know, a lot of adults or a lot of new parents usually take a lot of traits and habits from their parents. Do you have to deal with like breaking those mindsets and those little habits and stuff? Like how I can imagine that can be very frustrating.
100%, but you cannot attack that. unless you have raised yourself to the level of awareness where you say to yourself, I choose not to parent like my parent did. I came from this, not me specifically, I'm just making general statements here. I came from two homes, right? Because parents got divorced when I was young. So I have a house over here and a house over here. So not only did I have one environment, I had two environments with four people influencing my childhood. Okay, I choose to do things differently than that. First, you have to make the choice. Once you're aware of what your goal is, then it's not that hard. The knowing and the doing are definitely two different things. And, the science of happiness and the science of well-being and all of this new neuroscience is coming out of this amazing research in all of the big universities says knowing what you want to do, but knowing how to do what you want to do are two very different things. Parents historically say what they want. I want my kid to be happier than I was. I want my kid to be more successful than I was. I want my child to have more skills and more resources than I did. But they don't ask for help on how to do it. It somehow seems like going out there and saying, I need to upskill my parenting. That there's this stigma around it. Like, you should just know if you have to ask for help, there's a problem. There's not. And if your listeners take one thing away from our really awesome conversation today, I want them to hear that saying, I want to do this job better than it was done for me, and I would like to seek out someone who can help me do that, is the bravest, most courageous thing that you can do for your children.
Outstanding message. And thank you for answering that question. Because a lot of the things that you're saying, like, they kind of interlap with business a lot. So, I mean, yeah. And when you're saying it, it's like, that makes sense, and especially when you use the word scaling. I think that was intentional there, but but no, that makes a lot of sense. Asking a lot of us, especially in parenting, I think me as a dad personally, I'll speak on a personal topic, asking for help as far as a dad, we're macho, we know it all, we got this, this is how we did it in my house and for generations this, and these are our traditions, and then it doesn't work, and we're like, we'll just keep doing it wrong until it looks right. I think that's the mentality we have here. We'll just keep doing it wrong until it looks right to everybody. But no, the last thing we'll do is ask for help, which brings me to my next question. Moms are a little more open, to help, because when it comes to their babies, they'll do anything. Dads, we're a little more reluctant and stubborn, and I'm going to use the word egotistical, because that's where it falls into. I mean, let's just be honest. How do you usually get dad on board?
Well, first, dads are fixers. Right. Dads are fixers. They just, in general, the male species tend to be the ones who see the problems that need fixing and go try to fix it. And if you can't, that's when you feel like, there's a problem and there's a gap and I don't know how to fix it. And so I must be failing at this thing. And my husband would back me up on that. How do I get dads on board? Well, first of all, Core4 Parenting is all about this dual core developmental model, that who we are matters more than what we end up doing. Because if we're if we know who we are and the way that we tend to relate to other people best, we can set a foundational relationship with our children that becomes a collaborative problem-solving environment. And that is not something that a lot of dads think about, right? No. They don't think about, let's include my child and say, like, I don't have the answer. I want to get to the answer. I want to help solve this with you. Do you have any ideas? Can we work together to try to figure this out? Let's make a plan. And if it works, awesome. yay us, we did it. And if it doesn't, we'll come back together and we'll figure out a new plan and try it until we figure it out together. Inside our virtual village, which is Core4 Parenting's, we curate there an online community for parents who are like-minded, have similar goals for raising kids. We have a spot just for proactive papas, and you get to hang out with your peeps, and you get to say the things that you need to say and ask the questions you need to ask in a really safe place, right? It's not a Facebook group that's open to the public. It's not a this, it's not a that. It's not anybody can be part of it. If you know you have a Core4 parenting mindset and you're a dad, you end up there, you're surrounded by people who you can learn from and who you can impart knowledge to.
Okay. Okay. Outstanding. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
So what is what does this is just such a great conversation. Thank you for being here today. It was a great conversation.
I love it.
What does your typical program look like? You know, like how does that usually look?
So we specifically at Core4 Parenting are serving people who are in the last stages of their pregnancy up through raising 5-year-olds and leading them into independence into kindergarten.
Okay.
The virtual village is the first space that we ask people to delve into. It is set up in such a way that we are creating content every single day on different topics in every single month that anybody can latch onto, no matter how old your child is in that realm. Within the village, we also have courses that are available to purchase if you're having a specific challenge inside the home that you feel needs solving right now. Is sleep a problem? We have sleep class. Is early language frustration a problem? We have an ASL class that teaches your child to communicate before they can talk. So we have problem solving courses in there that match the age and stage of the development of your kid. Once you feel, if all of that is great and it's working for you, great. Just keep engaging, keep learning. If parents really feel like they need that next level of support, we have a 6-week masterclass. And that is a live masterclass in a large group format, like here on Zoom, where every week I dive into one of the foundational parenting basic models that we need to be thinking about. And you've said the word mindset twice. Mindset is our first module.
I love it.
And then we go into perspective, being able to see things from different points of view. And then we talk about the language of our little people and how they're learning language long before they can, like what they're absorbing receptively is happening long before they can give us anything back. And we end up with finite strategies, science behind our strategies, the literal scripts to use when we're implementing our strategies, and then I stack them into systems. So if somebody needs that level of support, it's there. If they don't, I see them around the village and I say, hey, how's it going?
Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. That I imagine that once somebody comes in, there's not many people who leave the village. Like it's just something that you it sounds like a great, you know, a great opportunity, that a resource that I'm definitely gonna use. I'm gonna talk the wife into as well, because it just sounds like, you know, something that a lot of people could definitely use, and a resource that, wow. And I'm glad that I'm so glad that you came on the show today, because this is I was really looking forward to it too, but I didn't expect it to be this great of a conversation. Yeah, so I don't know how that comes off. Usually, I don't know how that comes off. This episode for Net Builders is the first of its kind, so I was really anxious about it.
Okay, well, I will let you know, we've talked a lot about the down and the dirty and the parenting realm, which I know is not necessarily your focus. And so I'll finish by kind of bridging it to the business building aspect. Obviously, I'm an educator. I'm a mom. I'm a nanny. I'm a train the trainer, right? That's my background. Do I have an MBA? Nope. Am I still able to, in the last 18 months, take this passion and this mission and this love for wanting to share this with the world and create a company out of it? Yes. It's a digital ed tech company. I know nothing about digital ed tech. I learn as I go. I take my own advice. I take courses. I find the experts out there doing it, and I buy their courses, and I'm able to implement them quickly and then create outcomes. We all need help. I didn't need help necessarily in my parenting space. That's help I am able to give and serve with. But I needed a lot of help to understand how to get this message to the world.
Outstanding. I like how you close that off though. Do you have any what do you think should be the biggest message that everyone should take from you gave us a bunch of value today, but what do you think should be the biggest message for parents in entrepreneurism right now?
All right. Well, so I'll just leave with my biggest message for parents, since we really focused on that today.
Okay.
Moms, dads, caregivers, nannies, anybody who is a primary caregiver for anyone from birth to 5, here's 2 things you need to know. 1, 85% of foundational brain growth, literally the growth of the brain, the size of it, is done by 5 years old. Which means that 85% of foundational skill development in the core readiness areas for finding success in school and life are set by 5 years old. This is where we get to be their brain architects. This is where we get to really influence them. And so if you still have kids anywhere in the space of birth to 5, make a note of that and then go find out what you need to do in order to get them their best start right now.
Outstanding. And where can we find you online?
So core4parenting.com is the website. The virtual village is accessible through there. I will tell you, we are breaking ground on some major construction and renovation inside the village. Big launch coming in a few weeks with a new model. It's so exciting. And then also you could just follow us, Core4 Parenting, on Instagram and Facebook, and my name, Cara Tyrrell, at LinkedIn, and you will see everyday inspiration and a little bit of knowledge to help you stay focused on this mission that is raising a human being.
Outstanding. And we'll have all of those links in the description below. So thank you for joining us today, Cara. Thank you so much. Thank you, Net Builders, for joining us today. And I hope you guys got as much value out of this as I have. And we'll see you next episode.
Thank you.